Sarah Buffie, and I am going to show you a quick hand brain. And this is the work of Dan Siegel. You can Google him online. You can also Google hundreds of hand brain videos out there. This is one I'll share with you now. So if your hand was a brain, the first thing to grow in utero is your spinal column. This is in charge of sending all the messages that we receive down to every other part of our body and then back again. So if you stub your toe, there's a message sent to your brain that, that hurt. And the same thing, vice versa. This is the information superhighway between your brain and the rest of your body. The next thing to grow is your brainstem. And this is in charge of everything we don't think about. So breathing, digestion, going to the bathroom. If you're nodding at the computer screen right now saying, oh, interesting, that is a brainstem function. This is in charge of everything we don't consciously think about. It keeps us alive. It's a very helpful part of our brain and one of the oldest parts of our brain. The next thing to grow is our fear center. This is our survival center. So this is a really key part of our brain that has to do with all the functions that, again, really are keeping us alive. What you need from 0 to 18 months for your thinking brain to grow online in a way that's helpful to you is first a felt sense of safety. If you have a felt sense of safety, your brain will grow the attachment neurons. These are the parts of your brain that help you to attach to safe other human beings. It's also the part of your brain that helps you work cooperatively with others. If you have attachment, you can grow the regulation parts of your brain. This is the part of your brain that helps you regulate your mood. So really high highs, you can come back down. If you're having a hard time, feeling lethargic, you can bring your mood back up. This is all happening through the regulation centers here in your brain. If you have felt safety, attachment, and regulation from 0 to 18 months, your thinking brain will start to grow online in a way that's really helpful for you. Now, this is the part of the brain that has to do with logic, consequences, reasoning, and control. It's also the part of the brain that houses language, and specifically language that helps you ask and answer questions. Okay? So let's go back to the fear center here. If you don't have felt safety, right? If you're experiencing a lot of difficulties early on in childhood and you don't feel safe in your body, your brain will not grow the attachment neurons. It doesn't want you to attach to unsafe people. If you don't grow those, you can't grow the regulation parts of your brain to regulate your mood. So if you yourself or you're working with someone who goes from 0 to 60 for what looks like no reason, that tells us that they didn't have regulation growing up. And regulation is a learned trait. We don't just randomly know how to soothe ourselves. That's a message that we're given or not given early on in childhood. So if you don't have felt safety, attachment, and regulation, what happens is that shows us that you've experienced a lot of stress throughout your life, especially in childhood. What I'm doing right now is trying to emphasize that when we have stress hormones running through our body, when we have a lot of fear or kind of disorganization in our life, cortisol is a chemical that's running through our system. Cortisol and adrenaline are very helpful if we need to outrun a tiger or fight something off. But what happens is if we have a lot of stress early on, right, if that cortisol, if that bear is coming into our home every single night, our fear center is on high alert because we don't need our thinking brain to outrun a tiger or to fight off a perpetrator. We need to react. We need to be in fight or flight. This is where that fight or flight mechanism is really housed. What happens is most of us, anyone, when we walk into a situation, our brain scans for safety or danger. And if our fear center says, hey, we're safe, it sends a message to our thinking brain to come online and we can go about our day. But if anything in our environment is a trigger, so sight or smell or sound, or if something reminds us of something from our past, our thinking brain will be offline and will be in that stress fight or flight mode until we get messages that we can bring our thinking brain back online. When we're working with people or trying to understand ourselves, the one thing I want to offer is you have to connect before you correct. If we see someone in a triggered space and we tell them to calm down, relax, calm down, no, don't, stop, those are all trigger words that throw the thinking brain right offline. So when we see someone offline, what we need to do is say, how can I help you feel safe? We need to acknowledge that they're in a fear space before we start to come at them with any logic or consequences in that specific situation. There's a lot more to learn about the hand brain, but hopefully this gives us a foundation to understand when someone's offline, we have the power to be safe people in people's lives, to help them feel seen and heard so that their thinking brain can come back online, and then we can work through this situation together. Again, check out Dan Siegel's Hand Brain, or just Google Hand Brain or Hand Brain for Kids. You can find larger explanations, but this will hopefully get us on the right path.